So Tom Holland's Spider-Man is leaving the MCU.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
If you haven't heard already, Deadline recently released an article about how Kevin Feige, president of Marvel Studios, won't produce any future Spider-Man films. What this basically means is that Spider-Man won't be able to be in the MCU going forwards. By the way, this isn't just some rumor mill thing, it's coming from Deadline, which is a pretty reputable source, so it's a pretty low chance that this is just some false rumor. Okay, so anyway, before I go into any detail about what this means for Sony, Marvel, Spider-Man, and the MCU, I'm going to give you a bit of backstory on how the Sony-Marvel deal works. In the 90s, Marvel was pretty broke, so they sold off the film rights to a bunch of their characters. They sold Spider-Man and all of his associated characters to Sony, the X-Men to Fox, and various other characters to other studios, such as like Hulk to Universal. That's pretty complicated deals. That's why he doesn't get solo movies anymore. But that's not what this video is about. So a few years ago, Marvel and Sony made a deal so that Peter Parker's Spider-Man could appear in Captain America Civil War. In short, the way it works is that Spider-Man gets to appear in team-up movies such as the Avengers movies and Civil War, which Marvel is making money off, but the solo movies, which are still in the MCU in continuity-wise, Sony gets to make the profit. But what this recent news means, that deal isn't a thing anymore.
But why is Sony pulling out?
Well, if I'm honest, like most cases in business, it just comes down to money. What it boils down to is that Marvel and Sony had a disagreement about what percentage of money each would be spending on and making off of future movies, so they cut ties, and that's that. Well, what a lot of people speculate happened is that Sony, after the box office success of Far From Home, got a little cocky because they didn't think they needed Marvel as much now, so they decided to try and renegotiate the deal with Marvel, which they were not happy with, which is why it went south and why we're in this situation. As far as I'm concerned, this was not a smart decision by Sony, because even though Spider-Man Far From Home did make a lot of money, and it was Sony's highest-grossing movie in the history of the studio at like over $1 billion, now I'm not sure what the total number is, a lot of that was piggybacking off the success of Endgame and the hype that the movie was getting, that Far From Home was getting, as a final conclusion to Phase 3 and the Infinity Saga. Sony also isn't exactly known for their smart business decisions. For example, the whole reason Spider-Man ended up in the MCU in the first place is because they cancelled Amazing Spider-Man 3 just because Andrew Garfield, who was playing him at the time, didn't show up to a press event they had. I think it was at the World Cup in 2014 or something. And because he was sick at the time, so he didn't show up, and Sony got mad and they canceled the entire movie, and that's when they made the deal with Marvel. But my own feelings aside on how dumb this deal is, what does this mean for the future? Even though it's disappointing for a lot of fans, it's not as bad as it seems. Though they'll no longer be in the MCU, future Spider-Man movies starring Tom Holland and directed by John Watts will be coming out. I think there are 2 that are in the works right now, and they'll follow up the events of Spider-Man Far From Home. This also means they could cross over with Tom Hardy's Venom, since they're now under the same Sony banner. But as far as the MCU is concerned, they have a lot of future movies and Disney Plus shows already, so they'll just have to move forward without Spider-Man. I'm sure the Marvel heads don't see this as a huge loss, considering they have a lot of sequels on future movies to do in Phase 4, which also means if this didn't happen, it would have taken them a few years to get to a third Spider-Man movie anyway. And now that Disney owns Fox, they have their hands on the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. They have a lot more beloved characters to introduce to the MCU. So overall, even though it is still disappointing as fans, it won't create too drastic a change to the MCU and the now separate Spider-Man films. But what do you think? Be sure to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video and you want to see more, hit the like button, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because I got a lot more of this kind of content coming soon. But if you come to this channel for like the trailers and edits, there's a lot of that in the pipeline as well, so don't worry about that. Otherwise, it's been a Last Cut production. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.